Welcome to Rates and Barrels. It is Friday, April 18th. Derek VanRiper, Eno Sarris here with you on this episode. We dig into some news from around the league, including some testing on the shoulder of Grayson Rodriguez. We'll talk about that and the impact of a longer absence for Rodriguez on an Orioles rotation that really needs him back. We've got some prospect of the week selections. We're going to have our senior hot dog correspondent, Shah. He's also the founder of Ottoneu. He will join us a little bit later in the show. We got a hot dog review on tap and some weekend waiver pickup advice. So we have tons of ground to cover, Eno, and a mailbag question that's about as scientific and philosophical as any mailbag question I've ever seen on one of our rundowns. So we're definitely looking forward to that. If you'd like to join the conversation on Discord, you can do that with the link in the show description. That's the best place to send mailbag questions for the show as well. Let's get into this with the Grayson Rodriguez news. He was supposed to throw a bullpen session on Thursday. Those plans were scrapped, and instead, he went for imaging on his shoulder. And the shoulder is not the reason Grayson Rodriguez was on the IL in the first place. They're calling it soreness for now, but until we have the results of the MRI, it's really more of a hold our breath and just hope that it's typical ramping up soreness and not something worse. But because Grayson Rodriguez dealt with a lat strain at the end of last season, I think our minds immediately go to some sort of underlying problem still being there.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all. It's tough on the Orioles. It's tough on anybody who has Grayson Rodriguez shares. I think if you're in a redraft league, I mean, you might as well, I guess, wait for the information, but doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. And now the Orioles, who are, playing fine, but kind of need better pitching if they want to get past the Red Sox and Yankees, and kind of seems like they have a little bit of a missed opportunity there in terms of building a better rotation that could withstand depth problems like this. The general manager came out, Mike Elias came out and said, well, this isn't something we planned for, to have these guys on the shelf at the same time. And I would say that's something you should plan for.
Yeah, I mean, the injury history of Grayson Rodriguez is meaningful. I thought this was going to be the breakout year. I thought he was going to replace Corbin Burns effectively. Clearly, I have been wrong. I've underestimated just how much the past arm issues might be impacting his current arm health. I think it's hard to kind of take what Mike Elias was saying at face value. We never know. We never know what conversations they had with other free agents. We have a sense of what they offered Burns and how it wasn't what Burns wanted. It wasn't nearly as good as the offer that he got from the Diamondbacks, right? But we don't know what rejected trade offers have gone through the Baltimore front office. We don't know the free agents they might have come in second on otherwise. Were they in on Blake Snell? Were they in on anybody else this offseason that could have been a difference maker? Some of that stuff is just information that we'll never have a handle on. But I do think that's the one surprising part of their rebuilding effort is that they got so much right on the hitting side. The question has been, will they develop enough quality pitching? And they do things well with pitching. They've found some guys. They've had players that got better in that system, but it, relatively speaking, it's the weakness of the organization. And it's hard. It's hard to get pitching when you don't have it. It's expensive. We talk about Sandy Alcantara like 3 times a week. Where's Sandy going to go? Where's this? And we've been trying to trade pitching to Baltimore for, I think, 3 years now. And it hasn't quite come together.
And there's something about the style of running this team that you can see as soon as you draw up their payroll page on Fangraphs, that roster resource. It's immediately clear what the philosophy is, and of course, anybody listening probably knows right now, which is, small deals for mid-level free agents, short as possible. Keep the balance sheet clean for the long run, develop from within, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look at just even next year's balance sheet, the only guaranteed salary that they have that's not in arbitration is Tyler O'Neill at $16.5 million. And So you get it. Like, and why is Tyler O'Neill like their acquisition? Because he's 3 and 50 and not, 200 million or 700 million or whatever it is. He's a mid-level piece that makes them better. They did add more payroll than any other team year over year, according to that story from Ed Clemens and Fangraphs. I don't know if that's where it all ended up, but they did, sign Charlie Morton for 15 million in 1 year and Tomoyuki Sagano for 13 million, and and the Tyler O'Neill deal. And I don't know exactly how they ended up with adding more payroll than other people year over year, but that was what the story said at the time. And I think they might be making the wrong idea. I think that like you throw, like Juan Soto on this or Corbin Burns, or, you know what I mean? Like if you take one shot at a long-term deal, then that makes sense. I don't know what their representation is for Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and stuff, but they haven't done any long-term deals with their young guys either. So I wonder if it's just like an anti-long-term deal team. And if that's the case, then they're never going to add a big free agent. And they're always going to shop in this Charlie Morton territory, which it's fine, but it's not working right now. And it doesn't look very happy for the future right now. So I guess the good news is for Cade Povich. Seems like he's got a rotation slot for as long as he wants it. And I should have written him up today in my piece. Just ran out of time a little bit. I like Povich some, but I don't think he has the makings of an elite pitcher like Grayson Rodriguez. If Povich has an out pitch, it's his four-seamer, which has 99 stuff plus. He has 4 pitches in the 90s and stuff plus, and a fifth one that's at 86. So he does have a lot of pitches, but it's a little bit like Sugano, where there's a lot of pitches, decent command, but what's the out pitch? Dean Kramer is like this. A lot of pitches, decent command. What's the out pitch? Dean Kramer had a good year last year and having a bad year this year. I think those types of pitchers are they end up having a lot of variance year to year.
Yeah, I think the other name that you're probably going to see in the big leagues in the near future is Brandon Young. He's at AAA right now, and I think he'd be able to make a start this weekend based on the last time he pitched at AAA. Last start there was April 12th. It's already April 18th, so theoretically, if they want to use him in the rotation this weekend, that is an option. I'm just curious, do you have AAA stuff numbers on Young? 17 Ks, just 2 walks and 16 and a third innings so far this year. So he's off to a nice start. Fangraphs has a future value 45 on him. Looks like a good fastball, slightly even better curveball, maybe average or better, actually better than average command, possibly an average changeup. I'm actually kind of surprised looking at the pitch grades that it turns into a 45, but as we've learned, that's not it's not added up and then divide by 5 kind of thing. It's what do you think the role is? What do you think all the other factors are built in there? But what have you seen from Brandon Young, and do you think maybe he could be at least as good as a Povich type, if not something a little bit better?
You know what's funny? His pitch type stuff plus adds up the same way. So if I told you he has a 118 stuff plus on his curveball, a 115 stuff plus on his slider, a 105 stuff plus on his changeup, a 101 stuff plus on his four seam, and an 85 on his cutter, you would assume that he has a pretty good stuff plus, right?
Like a 107 probably, yeah.
Somehow this adds up to a 102. I guess it's because he throws the four seam the most, 66 four seamers thrown, 50 changeups. So he throws the lower stuff plus pitches more. I don't know. There's something nice here in that at least the model likes the breaking balls in small samples. And it looks like he thinks of himself as a fastball changeup guy. So if he's a fastball changeup guy at his core and his breaking balls are actually okay, then he could be an exciting player.
Looking back at the Keith Law profile from his top 20 Orioles list for 2025, Young is a potential fifth starter with good feel for mixing his 4 pitches, but lacking the out pitch to be more than that, right? That sort of explains, like, why is he getting a 45 with everything getting slightly higher grades? It's just
and a 102 stuff plus is like kind of right there.
Yeah. So there's your there's your temper the enthusiasm on Brandon Young, but he may end up being important to this Orioles team because they're going to have to find guys to help them get there if this Rodriguez absence does get extended longer. Eflin down right now. I'm surprised the Orioles didn't plan a little more for this scenario because it's not just Rodriguez's injury history. Zach Eflin has had pretty extensive history of knee trouble, of all things, so he's missed a lot of time over the course of his career as well. Injuries biting the Minnesota Twins right now. Luke Keaschall getting the call to the big leagues, a longtime favorite of our buddy James Anderson. And I imagine a guy that's still on your roster in Devil's Rejects. I didn't check this morning, but I assume Luke Keaschall is a guy you're going to be using in a league that deep, as long as he's getting a little bit of run here for the Twins, as they've got Willie Castro dealing with an oblique injury. Matt Wallner went on the IL with a hamstring strain earlier this week. It looks like Carlos Correa is going to be okay. I think he made a late appearance on Wednesday after leaving early on Tuesday, but Keaschall's one of those prospects that puts up big numbers everywhere he goes. The question is probably power relative to hit tool. Like, I think the average and OBP are going to be there pretty quickly, but how much in-game power are you expecting from Keaschall?
Yeah, that is the question mark, because we really only have 58 plate appearances at AAA with a 106.9 max EV and a 35% hard hit rate. So I would say we don't really know the underlying level of power here. And we also have that sort of dreaded 180 to 200 ISO with speed in the minors. That's kind of, we talked about that with Matt Shah a little bit, where you're not sure if those are leg doubles or not. Without the exit velocities. So right now we still a question mark on the power. I really do like the combination of walk rate, strikeout rate, and swinging strike rate. This looks like somebody who can at least, I would say, walk 10% of the time and keep the strikeout rate below league average, which means that the batting average shouldn't be bad, and the steals are there, and the projections are actually pretty rosy on him with 330 OBPs and the kind of full season stats that would give you maybe 15 homers and 15 to 20 steals. Mm-hmm. So deep leaguers, I'd pick him up. I think, the other question is always in sort of a redraft scenario, or when a young guy comes up like this, is there a roadmap for him to stay up? And I think it's interesting that he came up before Peyton Ealis. So, okay, he's the next man up for this team. Is he going to be an up and down guy depending on health? He could be. Julian right now has a 101 WRC plus, has cut his strikeout rate a little bit, but he's a platoon guy. Keaschall is a right-hander, so he could maybe stay up in a platoon. But at some point, Brooks Lee will be healthy, and he's the switch hitter. So I think, reading the tea leaves, I think this could be a short-term situation.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Peyton Ealis. I think he's got the recovery from knee surgery slowing him down. He had some kind of cartilage problem in his knee. Otherwise, I think he would have got this opportunity first, if only because the role, despite those injuries, is not necessarily an everyday role yet. So I could see Keaschall maybe being limited more to a small side platoon role initially, getting his first taste of the big leagues, getting sent back down, and then maybe getting that prolonged opportunity later on this summer. That still seems likely. It is interesting, though, the Twins' offense has been rough to begin the season. I think it's an 82 WRC plus for them as a team. It's a 280 WOBA. So it's even worse by WOBA. It's tied for 25th, tied with the Rockies and Astros so far through these first 3 weeks and change.
We've already done some work on it with sending Juan Miranda down. He had a toot bland, a thrown out on the base pass like a nincompoop toot bland, and also maybe hurt his hand, and so he's hurt and in AAA, which is just a terrible combo. And he also struck out a lot when he came up when at the beginning of the season, which is just weird because it's probably the one skill he has is not striking out. And so that doesn't bode well for his future. Larnach and Wallner's playing about as well as we could have hoped. getting that top end BABIP by hitting the ball so hard, and just staying afloat and being a decent guy out there. So I think Wallner, once the hamstring is fine, is back in there. And just to sort of check in around these guys, Larnach has been struggling, but the strikeout rate is fine. The max EV is all right. He's kind of can go in and out a little bit. So I think he'll be fine. I don't know what's your solution for this offense? Like, what are you circling? Are you saying we give up on France and move on? France is, doing okay. Do you have a thing a move you would make for the Twins?
No, because I'm so patient and I believe in this group more than I probably should. Like I have the annual flaw of thinking the Twins are going to be as good as they project to be on paper, and I can't figure out why they fall short beyond injuries. We know injuries are part of their core. We talked a lot about it on their team preview, but I don't see the obvious moves. I mean, Royce Lewis coming back eventually is going to help, right? They haven't played with him so far this season. Hopefully Wallner's hamstring strain is something that keeps him out for just close to the 10-day minimum, as opposed to like a month-long thing, because he does seem to be very important to them. I mean,
why do they have so many hamstring strains?
It's cold there, but like that shouldn't really. It's cold a lot of places.
Yeah, it's not strange.
That's probably just a coincidence. I mean, it's definitely strange. No, I don't have a singular thing about this lineup that I'm like, yeah, you have to go fix that. But I do think there's a prospect of the week tie-in here. So let's get prospect of the week in here nice and early today. I thought at one point going into the season that maybe we would see each of Luke Keaschall, Walker Jenkins, and Emmanuel Rodriguez all in the big leagues together. Probably August, right? Like a late season push. Either guys are hurt and they want to keep things afloat, or things just haven't gone the way the Twins expected. They're kind of in the middle. They end up being sellers at the deadline. They open up spots via trade. Either way, there were multiple paths for this to happen. Still could happen. It's only April 18th. It's only been a few weeks. But Emmanuel Rodriguez kind of caught my eye in a bad way. Usually prospect of the week, we're hyping people up. I think it's because we're just not seeing power from him at AAA yet. And he just turned 22 in February. He's age appropriate for the level. But Rodriguez has been a very interesting profile throughout his entire time in the minors, because you see extreme walk rates, but you do get it with some swing and miss that ticks up at times. And so far, it's 11 walks, but 20 strikeouts in 60 plate appearances through 13 games. So end of last year, beginning of this year, Emmanuel Rodriguez has now played 20 games in St. Paul. He's only got 4 extra base hits so far. That's what I'm worried about, more so than the swing and miss. I feel like he'll figure out the zone. The ABS system might be juicing up the strikeout rate just a little bit. I think if you give him a couple of months, he's going to make the adjustments, and that aspect of his game is going to be fine. But where I'm genuinely curious is, like, is this going to be a below average contributor from a power perspective in the long run, given how light the power has been so far, one level removed from the big leagues?
I'm going to take the positive side of this and say, he's hit a ball 114.6 last year and 113.6 this year. That suggests premium bat speed. The hard hit rate is good. And the ground ball rate that he has shown at AAA, I don't know, that is a thing. That is probably why you can hit the ball hard and not hit for power. But it's not something he's had a problem with his whole career. It's just cropped up this time. So I think it's probably just the latest book on him. And we know that he has a good eye. So maybe at this point, he hasn't yet figured out what to do with this latest book, but I think he's figured stuff out in the past. And I'm going to say that I believe in him as having better power than he's projected for, which is around league average. That seems wrong for somebody who has like a 114, 115 max EV. There's very few people. I don't think there's any. Maybe Brian Hayes is a person that might have that kind of a max EV and have below average power, but it's very rare. So I'm going to bet on the EVs here a little bit.
And the questions about Rodriguez by actual scouting grades are more on hit tool than power. Like Fangraphs has a 70 raw power grade on him, 50 game future 60. So it seems like kind of flipped. Like I'm probably just getting too wrapped up in the small sample and thinking a lot about how he handles the zone and maybe worrying too much about the initial Ben Rice outcome from 2024, where maybe he's good at just driving pitches because he can work the count, get a mistake that he can crush, and he does his damage that way. Again, just it seemed weird to me that for a guy that's supposed to have that much power, it hasn't been there yet. But it has only been 20 games, split over 2 seasons, and maybe the ankle injury from spring training has slowed him down a little bit to begin this season at AAA. And hey, maybe my pessimism is a window to go get a little bit of a discount. Maybe he's more movable right now for somebody in your keeper or dynasty league as a result of this. But who's caught your eye? Maybe a more positive report from you, since I was a little bit skeptical of what we saw from Rodriguez so far.
Well, I was trolling through the AAA Stuff Plus things, and I noticed an interesting sort of anomaly, perhaps, which was that Michael Burrows has a better AAA Stuff Plus than Bubba Chandler right now. Michael Burrows, among pitchers with 150 pitches, he's third in Stuff Plus behind Emiliano Teodo and Zebby Matthews. Bubba Chandler is fine. He's fifth, right behind Blake Tidwell, who we talked about on Tuesday, and somebody named Dugan Darnell. And so this isn't to say that Mike Burrows has moved past Bubba Chandler, although Mike Burrows did get a shot at the big leagues before Bubba Chandler. But it is to say, don't forget about Mike Burrows, because when we kind of looked at the team context for the Pirates, I think we both kind of agreed that there might be two slots here for pitchers. Considering that Bailey Falter has a 4.91 ERA, and this is kind of who we thought he was when he was doing better last year, and Carmen Wodzinski is doing all right in terms of process stats, has 100 Stuff Plus and 23% strikeout rate, 9.8% walk rate, pretty much exactly league average. I mean, 100 Stuff Plus, exactly league average, came on his BB, slightly better than average ground ball rate. He should have a league average ERA somewhere in the low 4s, has an ERA at 6 though, and at some point may just run out of innings. Because he only had 50 innings last year. This seems like a kind of a short-term fix situation. And if he keeps at 6 ERA up, and they know that he was a reliever and the bullpen kind of needs some help, those are all ways that this could end up, making space. Now, Thomas Harrington, did get the last spot start, and maybe he's the spot starter, but if it's a long-term switch, they could have Burrows and Chandler take over. Just wanted to look at the per pitch numbers, and the thing that's exciting about Burrows is he's always had good secondaries. Last year, even when he came up, the Stuff Plus was good on his secondaries, wasn't great on his fastball. Right now in AAA, the fastball has good Stuff Plus as well. So if he gained a few ticks or changed shape or something while he was down there, then he would be more exciting going forward. All that is said, Bubba Chandler's strikeout rate is much more exciting than Mike Burrows. So I am not saying that Mike Burrows is more exciting than Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler is probably the number one pitching prospect in the minors right now.
I think what you're saying is that we're looking at Mike Burrows as maybe a more interesting deep league pickup if he does get an opportunity. He's on the 40-man like Braxton Ashcraft, so you probably have another 3 to 4 weeks before the Pirates try to follow their script from the Paul Skeens promotion and then bring Bubba Chandler into the big leagues by the same fashion, right? So a lot could happen in the next month, and maybe they'll decide to give Burrows a look before then. And like you said, room for those guys to
I would guess that
Pirates want to go that route.
I guess that since their bullpen could use some help, and Carmen Mlodzinski has been a good bullpen piece for him, the first move is Chandler for Mlodzinski, and then if Falter is still faltering, then you have a choice to make there. And I don't know what you do with Falter, because you can't really send him down So
you hit the DFA him if you don't like him as a long reliever.
Right. But if the ERA stays near 5, he's been DFA'd before.
Yeah, that could be the unfortunate outcome for Bailey Falter. Well, now it's our pleasure to be joined by our senior hot dog correspondent and founder of Ottoneu. Niv Shah is back with us this week. Niv, how you doing today?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Doing great. Looking forward to it's not a long weekend. It's just going to be a busy weekend.
That's
holiday
right.
Weekend for us here in the States. But as you can see on the bottom of your screen, if you're watching on YouTube, we got baseball. We got hot dogs. We don't have apple pie yet, but we will soon. And, of course, we have Ottoneu. So kind of taking the old Chevy jingle and making it our own. We'll get that actually recorded in the
Get it together.
Get
Love
you a little intro jingle going there. But let's start with some of the most added players on Ottoneu. We do have a great hot dog to get to here in just a few minutes. I love the hot dog reviews. So you sent over the most added and most auctioned players on Ottoneu from the last 7 days, and one name that really surprised me, and he is actually on the block in my Ottoneu league right now, is Tyler Mahle. He is the most auctioned player on the platform right now.
Yep.
What the heck's going on with Tyler Mahle? Why does everyone like him all of a sudden?
Man, I don't have a great answer for that. It is a lot of times, you're gonna just sort of see auctions in your other leagues, and you're gonna be like, let's chase that. Let's see something that's up, and there is a lot of, especially with pitching, if you see something just a little bit, you're like, I need to clutch onto that. I need to jump it. And in Ottoneu, with the 40-man rosters, it ends up being a thing where you really don't have time to sit around and wait for the second time through, third time through. You may be just looking at what his next start is, and you're like, oh, I like what that looks like. But what do you guys think about Tyler Mahle? I am befuddled.
Yeah, I mean, his velo is up a little bit off of last year, and if you're kind of a K- Bibee head, I think you're
Right.
into it right now, because 28% strikeout rate and a 12% walk rate that is actually maybe should go down given his history.
Right.
So that stuff all looks good, but I'm more of a stuffist, and I think he's really fallen off since his heyday. I mean, when he was at his best, he was 94 miles an hour at the fastball. I think that's a pretty significant difference. 94 is around league average. 92 is considerably less so. So I have not really participated in Mahle mania, but I understand it. I think also another part of it, but from a roster management standpoint, is that there are people who have Grayson Rodriguez who thought he was going to come back, and they got the bad news today, or getting the bad news about his
shoulder situation.
There's other players that have been hurt. And then maybe you have somebody you thought was going to be good, and so it's around the time you start to be like, this guy I thought is going to be good. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be good, and this guy I thought was going to be healthy is not healthy. So I would just say this is the perfect time for people that are like, I need a starter right now.
And it's also just chasing, it's just hard to find starters. This is sort of what's left. It's not, it's not like there are gems just waiting. They don't wait for you, right? They get picked
especially
up
in
so
Ottoneu,
quickly.
we were just talking about Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler's owned, and
he's gone. Yeah.
Long gone. And the other name that kind of caught my eye though is Matthew Liberatore. It is, some of it's just, are you a starter? Are you safely a starter? Who do you match up with?
Do you pitch in a nice park maybe? Liberatore though, I think has actually impressed me a little bit more than Mahle.
So Liberatore is an interesting one because I actually started an auction for him in League One. And I lost it. So I was hoping that, you would make me feel better about not bidding enough on Liberatore. But then I don't
think he's an ace or anything.
Yeah, but I looked at Stuff Plus stuff, and, his fastball's looking way better this year. I am a Justin Steele guy, so I am looking for a starting pitcher. And having Liberatore on the waiver wire, I was like, well, he's been pretty successful. He will be pitching against NL Central offenses, which, maybe that's good. And, his age curve is in the right spot, 25. It's he's maybe post-hype kind of guy.
Velo, three fastballs. They're all kind of average-ish.
His Stuff Plus numbers are above average, good.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not hearing, man, Niv, you did a good job dodging that bullet.
No. And there was some skills growth last year too. The walk rate came down a little bit, not as far as it is down right now. He's walked one guy through 18 in the third innings, 18 Ks as well. Matchup wise too, if you're just playing streaming in other formats, it's at the Mets this weekend. It's okay for deeper leagues, and then he's home against the Brewers next week. I think they're still struggling enough with the bat,
and
a few
home
key guys
starts,
struggling. Like, yeah, you can.
I'd probably use him in most of his home starts in St. Louis.
Yeah. So there's enough that's changed. So yeah, that one maybe is one that got away from you a little bit, Niv, but not in a way that's going to ruin your year or anything. I don't think
Justin Steele's elbow is going to ruin my year way more than missing out on Liberatore, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. A couple other names that caught my eye. One on the position player side, Austin Hayes. He's back from the IL. 3 consecutive starts. I'm wondering if we all underrated Austin Hayes leaving the Mount Baltimore version of Orioles Park and ending up in Cincinnati, where he gets a major homer boost and maybe a clear runway to be a near everyday player, if not an everyday guy, based on this usage so far.
Yeah, I think the Reds sort of famously don't have outfielders, right? Like, they have a lot of infielders. They didn't have any outfielders. This was their big addition in the offseason. It does seem like he has a path to play. And yeah, I would love to have a Reds outfielder that plays every day in that ballpark, right? Like, that's as simple as it gets sometimes. Like, he's available, go snag him. I don't think there's like a lot to think about there.
Yeah,
that ballpark is.
Friedel and Fraley have been playing all right, but I've been noticing that Blake Dunn is like their 2-hitter. He's a 26-year-old right-hander that's projected to be a 78 WRC plus guy. So I was
there's a job there.
Why is Blake Dunn? What is happening here? Why is Blake Dunn their number 2 hitter? This can't be right. And then maybe he was just keeping the seat warm for Austin Hayes. Gavin Lux is kind of stuck in between a little bit now.
Yeah,
because Matt McClain is back, and I've seen Gavin Lux play in the outfield. I've seen him play at second base. He's not playing well enough, I think, to take the job from McClain. And if Hayes comes in and does 3 straight starts, I think Lux might be a utility player or their future third baseman. I don't really know what Lux's career looks like right now. And
I thought the Lux acquisition was a curious one, given, again, the Reds roster is so infield heavy. It's so many infielders, and like, you really want Lux to give you a plus second base bat, not like he's not a plus outfield bat. Like, he just isn't that.
Yeah.
So that's it was a curious addition. Austin Hayes, that just seems to me like the Reds finally got around to realizing, like, we can't just convert all our infielders into left fielders and right fielders. Like, we need to just get a guy who knows how to play the position. Mm-hmm. So to me, it just seems like, yeah, there's a path there in that he's an outfielder. And the Reds eventually gave in to whatever, and were like, we should probably have a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Hayes looks like Lux has played third since Hayes has started left field.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's bad news for Candelario and Encarnacion Strand. One of those guys is going to lose their job when Steer plays the field, I think.
Right.
Yeah, the other odd piece of all that is Noelvi Marte, who I mentioned earlier in the week. I was bummed I didn't pick him up last weekend. He got optioned down 24 hours later. Okay, I guess it's fine. He was playing a little bit, gets sent down. CES gets hurt. They bring him right back up. So now I'm like, okay, but you can.
Well, we've already shown that this is our first guy out.
Yeah, like Noelvi Marte, you can just tell by the way they've managed him, how quickly they sent him to minor league camp in spring training, how quickly they sent him down after his promotion. He has to work his way back into the organization's good graces after the PED suspension and the lost year ago. He's not going to be handed anything, even though I think there might be more ceiling with him than just about any other hitter that we're talking about as part of this entire mix, trying to find time in the corners there.
Yeah. Lux is the everyday third baseman now. It's and then CS, he's been disappointing, and there's obviously an injury component to that. But if he comes back and everyone's healthy, and he's still hitting like he's hitting, I think he gets optioned.
Right.
You know? So
I mean, they have a lot of guys, and a lot of guys that were a lot of promise. And when you have a lot of guys, it's sort of the same thing we were talking about. You guys were talking about earlier. Like, somebody has to be on the outs, and someone gets sent down, and someone gets DFA'd. Like, that's what happens. It's a tough business, I guess. Like, the Red situation is. But I think Austin Hayes. Yeah, I don't think they brought him in to be a platoon.
And he's definitely somebody you can platoon in fantasy where, play him more often at home.
Yeah, for sure.
Play him at home, play him against lefties on the road maybe when you get the handedness advantage, but then play somebody else when it doesn't work out that way. I think that's where the depth and the daily moves of Ottoneu comes in perfectly for Hayes. Like, he doesn't even have to be an everyday guy to be good in that format, but I think he might be good everywhere with the move into Cincinnati. Let's jump on a plane together with our taste buds, living vicariously through Niv and, again, the culinary team over at Nationals Park. The Dodgers visited recently, and as part of the Taste of the Majors program, that I'm going to call it, they have the LA dog, which is really interesting to me. This Dodger favorite is wrapped in smoked bacon and covered in grilled onions and peppers and pickled jalapenos. Now, off the cuff, this sounds delicious and looks like a very good hot dog. And I noticed there's already a pattern here. You mentioned on the first installment of Taste of the Majors that they reuse a lot of ingredients. So I'm a little surprised the grilled onions and peppers came back here, because I feel like they don't necessarily need them on a bacon-wrapped dog that already has pickled jalapenos, right? So walk us through the LA dog. I mean, it doesn't seem very LA, but was it actually good?
It was awesome. This was a good hot dog. It was... I sort of mentioned they really do like putting meat on meat. Bacon on a hot dog, it's great. I totally recommend it. It just adds a little that smokiness, that fattiness. It's just really tasty. The jalapenos were an excellent addition. The peppers and onions, it just sort of felt like, well, we got some grilled peppers and onions around. But they tasted great. Like it gives off a real good smoky Southwest energy to it. And this one was not hard to put down. This one was a 3-biter, I think. This one was gone pretty quick. So I really like this hot dog. And I think, for me, I think like when you add like the creaminess and cheese or some sort of like dressing or whatever, that's where things sort of get a little awry with these hot dogs. But when you go with like, these are sausage toppings, like treat the hot dog like a sausage, put a little bacon on it. Let's go. Sounds great.
That's my question is, these are fairly common all up and down the West Coast. Like you said, Southwest, you can go to Arizona and get a dog like that outside the park. You can go to LA, San Diego, San Francisco. When you leave the park in San Francisco, there are like 15 of these vendors with these bacon wrapped hot dogs, just like assaulting you, just be like, you must eat this. Yeah. And one of the things they always have is like the can of mayo.
Yeah, see, that's not. And you don't need that. You're just adding like. Oh, that's the most.
That's what I look at. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot, dude.
Yeah, I mean, like the bacon on the hot dog. You're really pushing it there, but it's one piece of bacon, delicious. And it smells
every time I'm
really
leaving,
good.
And it's like 10:30, 11, and I'm like, no, I don't want to eat a hot dog right now, but it smells so good.
And the casing, like regular hot dog casing, is fine. It's not. Derek, you must be a sausage connoisseur. You know what a snap is, what a good casing is. Adding a little bacon to a regular hot dog casing, like you're now turning it into a casing that you're maybe interested in. It's very good.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, texture and mouthfeel matters with food.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like Boyle on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You need to account for what this actually tastes like and how it feels when you're chewing it, because it adds something to the experience. So
yeah,
I'm glad they got this one right.
Yeah, they nailed this one.
Rice Krispie bar, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of boring. Like it was a Rice Krispie breakfast bar." He's like, "It's kind of boring." I was like, "At least it's crunchy," and he's like, "Yeah, at least it's crunchy."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's right, man. The experiential part of it, like taste, is important.
Yeah.
The next week I'll be going to the park again, so hopefully I'll have reports for you guys. Orioles and Mets next week, I think. So the Orioles one I'm very interested in. I don't think I've been to an Orioles Nats game in Nats Park before, and maybe the one time I've been, I didn't get the hot dog. So I'm really interested in what they are up to.
Yeah, they put some Old Bay on it.
Well, like
There's gonna be Old Bay on there. For sure.
Old Bay is that's just my stomach. I eat a lot of Old Bay. I live in the Mid-Atlantic now. I eat a lot of Old Bay. My stomach turns at the idea of a hot dog with Old Bay on it.
Old
like,
Bay,
that is, like, just so much salt. But you know, the quintessential Baltimore park food is pit beef, right? Like they like in the way that like San Francisco's would be the garlic fries or whatever. Like this is there's a pit beef stand when you come in on Utah Street, and always has a big line, and it's like that's the quintessential Baltimore food. So I started daydreaming. Pit beef is just like like a smoked piece of
like
beef,
a briskety thing.
Yeah, briskety kind of sandwich that they put horseradish and onions on, and it's raw onions, horseradish, and the.
So if they are honest to the Baltimore food tradition, they might have horseradish
now
on the hot dog.
we've gone. This sounds so good to me that I've forgotten about the Old Bay, and I'm thinking about pit beef and onions on a hot dog. It sounds so good. So. A boy can dream, and we'll see what actually happens. But I'm hoping to have some good reports for you guys from that one.
Yeah, if they're lazy, it's Old Bay, fried peppers and onions on a hot dog.
No, fried peppers and onions seem like they're going to be there for every hot dog. I don't think we're getting away from fried peppers and onions.
How could you do it without fried peppers and onions?
They're available.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. We look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Always a pleasure, guys. Talk to you all soon.
The Shah, senior hot dog correspondent here at Rates and Barrels and founder of Ottoneu. Be sure to check it out, including our Pick 6 group. 6 picks. I always flip that around.
Congratulations on your win, Niv.
Yep.
Yeah, nice win.
Good one this week.
Got a clutch win a couple days ago, and I'm hoping to turn it around. I'm still like 45th in the Rates and Barrels group, so there's some good scores in that group, man.
I'm worse.
I'm buried. I'm in the 70s right now. I'm trying. I'm trying.
Turn it around.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Niv. All right, always fun catching up with Niv, finding out what they got at the ballpark at Nationals Park. I'm rooting for the pit beef version of that dog because I think that's going to be a great one if that's what they cook up at Nationals Park for that Orioles series. Let's get to a few mailbag questions here. First one from Long Ball Larry wants our thoughts on a Joe Adell breakout, citing some of the underlying numbers being good. That was the case last year, too. Plenty of bat speed. That's been the case here, too. Good hard hit rate. Expected numbers look good. The question is going to come down to the K rate. Do we think Joe Adell will cut the strikeout rate enough over time to become relevant in shallower leagues? And is he a good buy low candidate in leagues where he's already rostered?
I don't think so. I fall for this kind of collection of strengths a lot, but the thing that bothers me is not so much the K rate, because you could have a Matt Wallner situation here, right? Mm-hmm. Where he just hits the crap out of the ball, strikes out a little bit too much, and finds his way to success anyway. But what you don't have from Adell is the high batting average on balls in play that Wallner has shown. So whatever it is about his line drive mix, or his ground ball fly ball mix, whatever it is about his batted balls, it's not producing, even though he has more legs than Wallner. It hasn't produced high BABIPs yet. And then the legs, what's going on with the stolen bases? If he's not going to steal bases, this is it. If he's not going to steal bases and he's not going to walk, you're putting all your eggs in that, the Easter eggs, all your Easter eggs in that barrel rate basket, which is fine. Like I said, that's something I usually believe in, but it's one basket in this situation.
I wonder if the situation, the OBP's been a little low to start the year too, right? I mean, it wasn't great last season and he ran a little bit, but I wonder if it just situationally hasn't been there. There hasn't been a base open ahead of him in the times he's been on base, just little things like that. That can happen over a smaller stretch. But to your point about speed, at least from a pure speed perspective, there's something that's different so far. And maybe he hasn't had enough competitive runs for sprint speed to look good. Last season, Joe Adell was 86th percentile in sprint speed. Makes sense. Young outfielder, sure. This season, 33rd percentile So, yeah, maybe there is something going on there physically. Maybe he had a nagging leg injury, ankle injury, something that was underreported, something that you and I maybe are forgetting about right now. But I think there's still speed there. I think the other way I would think about the question is, if you do trade for Joe Adell in a shallow league especially, is he worth having on your bench? Because in a shallow league, bench spots are precious, right? I mean, you only have 4 or 5 bench spots in a lot of those shallow leagues. Are you going to get enough of a payoff soon to where it's worth it? And that's where I'm not quite
he also
sure.
plays in he's a right-hander who plays in a neutral park. So it's not like you're like, oh, he's a Colorado outfielder. Worst case scenario, I play him at home when he has the handedness or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I think the ceiling, the best case scenario, if you said, what's your pie in the sky, if it all were to click, what's going to happen to Joe Adell? Could he put together a peak similar to what we saw from Adolis Garcia? Is that in the range of outcomes? That didn't happen for Garcia until he was 28. And Adell, even though we've been talking about him forever, is still only 26, just turned 26 10 days ago. Is that at least still in that range of higher end outcomes? Because the high 20s K rate is manageable. 5 to 7% walk rates most years from Garcia, other than 2023 when he got to 10.3% and hasn't been able to sustain that. Always a lot of hard contact. Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's also he says some similarities to like a Paul DeJong in terms of Ks and BBs, which hasn't worked out well though. But he has better bat speed than DeJong. So yeah, I could see a Adolis Garcia a season out of him. He's had some left hip tightness this year. Adell has. That I think probably contributes to the loss of sprint speed. And so I just, in a redraft, I don't know if this is going to be his year. I do have him in Devil's Rejects, and I think I'll hold on to him through this because his projections, even with a 290, 300 OBP, are still for 2010 season in the remaining 400 plate appearances they want to give him. So that's still a lot of power and speed. And if he does get it together, this is the type of team that really needs him. They got rid of Mickey Moniak. Taylor Ward is not playing that well. They need him. If he can be good, they'll play him every day. And that's not what's happening right now, but it could be what's happening in a week or two.
Yeah, possible. I think in shallow leagues, I'm going to be more careful. Deeper leagues, I think you would want to take a chance on this profile because there's still some ways it could go right. Thanks a lot for that question, Long Ball Larry. We got a few questions on Discord. I think growing concern about Tanner Bibee, who's actually had two starts where he hasn't allowed any earned runs and 2 where he's been knocked around pretty good. So the question came from CC Pen 999. How can we make sense of Tanner Bibee's struggles to this point?
I can't. We tried to kind of go through it and look at, things like arm slot and pitch mix. And all I can say is that his cutter last year had a 235 slugging. This year has a 1.111 slugging. And the cutter is his, quote unquote slider. It's his like gyro slider. It's his bread and butter. It has lost a mile per hour, but that doesn't seem like enough to explain why it has even a 985X slugging. So they are just killing that cutter, and it's mostly left-handers who are doing it. I will say that like the 2 pitches he kind of upped a little bit this year have been the sweeper and the sinker, and neither of those is going to help him against left-handers. So maybe he's just more susceptible to damage from left-handers than we thought. Maybe losing that 1 mile an hour velo makes it more of a regular slider and not so much of a power gyro slider, and so therefore makes it a little bit more susceptible to platoon splits. I don't really have an answer for you. When I don't have an answer for you, I tend to kind of look at the player's track record and say it'll probably get back to normal here.
Tough matchup next week. He does get the Yankees at home, but if you're in a position where someone else on your bench has an easier streaming spot, or maybe there's a middling guy that is on your roster on the waiver wire that you could use for a 2-start week, that might be the better way to go before leaning back into a hopeful rebound from Tanner Bibee here in the next few weeks. But yeah, it's surprising to see the difference on that cutter in particular, how much damage is being done against that early on compared to how effective it was just a season ago. This next question is from Tier Zero Hero. Please help settle this Dynasty League debate. In a Keep Forever League, I drafted Ted Williams' frozen head for $1. I figured for $1. Why not bet on science? Should this be allowed? Several teams argued that it will create a potential Ship of Theseus style dilemma that the current bylaws are not prepared to address. So I am not a student of Greek mythology. I had to look this up. The Ship of Theseus, it's also known as Theseus's paradox. It's a thought experiment that raises the question of whether an object that has had all of its components replaced remains fundamentally the same object. So there's a great example. I watched an 8-minute video from a philosophy professor on YouTube, and they use a wooden ship in the example instead of a person, which seems much more ethical and better way to use the example. To Tier Zero Heroes question, should this be allowed? No, I think you should only be allowed to draft
actual human beings,
complete living humans. So I would say, to avoid the possible headache, if we're all here, 300 years from now, and Ed Williams is brought back to life, it's going to be a big fight on the internet when we get there, if we get there. Just avoid that fight now and just drop the $1.
It'll be a fight.
Ted Williams.
It'll be a fight at MLB.
Well, yeah.
Like, should he be allowed to play?
Right. There's that. And then in
what do you do with his player card? You just have like a 200-year gap on his player card, and then he starts playing again. Is he the same person? I mean, that's the question.
Right. Is he gonna? Is he gonna work 300 years from now when pitchers throw 175 miles an hour because they're half machine?
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Ted Williams is going to hit 175 coming back from this.
These leagues with the open universe do raise more moral quandaries on the fringes than they do in actuality. I mean, in our league, we do have people, I think I was actually kind of interested in this Cuban player on a team. I don't forget, it's not your team, but this is Cuban player. He's like a 16-year-old that the Braves have signed that he hasn't played yet anywhere. And I was like, Ornelas or something. That's not Ornelas. What is it? Anyway, I was going to trade for him, and then I was like, no, dude, this guy is, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Might as well just pick the best little league player right in my like local little league.
I think that if you said, well, what would you do if you want to have a wide player pool? Any player in a professional league anywhere, right? So you don't draft kids in high school. Don't do that. Like if you're the commissioner, you can get in the ear of the commissioner, cut off the boundary there. Let kids be kids, and once they become pros, once they go to college at least, then go ahead and add them to your player pool and have that long-term speculation fun with it, right? Like the completely open universe is too much for me.
I, as a joke, have my son on my minor league, and my minor league prospects is in one of my leagues. But
it's not Devil's Rejects, though.
No, it's
because those roster spots are so valuable.
Yeah. This is one where we have more unlimited minor league spots. So it's just, yeah.
All right. We got a couple other waiver names I'm going to throw at you. We're going to go kind of rapid on these. Do you have any interest in Noelvi Marte? Like 12-team leagues, 15-team leagues?
Is he back up?
He's back up. They recalled him again because they put CES on the IL.
No, because of the Lux thing that I discovered. They're playing Lux third.
You think it's still too crowded? Okay. How about Adell Amador? He is back up for the Rockies. They put Tyler Freeman on the IL. Amador has started.
Well, they weren't even playing games. Freeman though. Oh, but
right,
they're going to play Amador.
They're just playing Amador instead of Kyle Farmer, I guess.
Yeah, that's too bad. I have some Kyle Farmer shares out there. No, I like Amador, and I actually could see him playing his way. Like, they don't have any organizational loyalty to Tyro Estrada.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say direction, but yes, you're right.
Yeah,
like, what word is it going to be? And I was like,
it hasn't looked great from a contact standpoint, but that has been Amador's one of his best puts forward. So I think that's just a sort of shock of the new situation. I don't think it'll have a lot of power in it. And speed wise, he's kind of reduced how often he steals this year compared to last year when he had 36 steals across two levels. So I think it's kind of a 240-ish hitter. If you give him a full season right now, I think you get 240, 1020, 1025.
Yeah, it's not bad at all if he ends up sticking. I mean, the problem could be he strikes out so much they have to send him back down to AAA. Amador hasn't played that much at that level, so it's well within the range of outcomes. But if he's still on the roster through the weekend, starts all 3 games again this weekend, you're probably picking up at least in 15-team leagues. Anything with a keeper and dynasty component might already be rostered, but definitely worth thinking about.
There is a little bit of risk that, like, when Estrada and Freeman are healthy, you have Estrada, Farmer, and Freeman. You'd lose Farmer or Estrada or Freeman if you tried to send them down or whatever, right? Freeman have an option.
Most of those guys. I mean, Freeman is probably the only one you could actually send down.
So if everyone's healthy, it might be Estrada and Farmer that are in the big leagues and Freeman and Amador in the minor leagues. Just because, as you mentioned, Rockies and direction.
Rocky's going to Rocky. How about Edgar Caro getting the look from the White Sox?
What was the corresponding move?
I don't know if it was even a catcher necessarily that went down. No, it was a catcher. Did they finally
He's on the injured list? Corey Lee is on the injured list.
Yeah, Corey Lee is okay. Corey Lee's hurt. That's what they did.
2 catcher leagues short term, but one thing that does suck is if you are in a 2 catcher league and you start playing the carousel at catcher and you're like, oh well, he's better than what I have for the next couple of weeks. You like playing the carousel with your second catcher in a 2 catcher league could be bad.
It's not fun.
You kind of want to find someone that you can just plug in the rest of the season and not think about that anymore. So if you, I wouldn't drop ND Rodriguez for Edgar Carrero as an example. Okay. I'd rather hope that ND Rodriguez can be my catcher all year.
I do like Caro long term though. I think he'll be good enough to be like a top 20 catcher, maybe even a top 15. Pretty good numbers as he's moved through the levels, and he's been young for the level everywhere he's played too.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting things about it, but he also has Teal to fight off, and so I guess he just gets the first shot.
The other name that I'm seeing moving in a lot of leagues on the position player side is Cameron Meisner. So far this year, he started 14 out of 19 games for the Rays, getting a lot of run in center field. Just moved up to the leadoff spot for Thursday's game against the Yankees. 15.4% K rate on the young season. Way better than what we're used to seeing from Cameron Meisner. So it's hard to know if that's going to be anywhere close to where things end up for him this season. But the playing time's been there, at least for a big side platoon sort of role. So any interest in Meisner?
Swinging strike rate stabilizes before strikeout rate, and swinging strike rate would be the best of his career at any level. So that's interesting. And at 27, it's not unheard of to just have your peak season and this be it. I think that when Johnny Lucca comes back, there's a chance that he just slots right back into center field, and this is a short-term thing for Meisner. But what Meisner does look like is maybe better than Mangum. Jake Mangum, who's older, and yes, he's a switch hitter, and he's playing well, but Meisner's ability to play center field might mean that he's the guy who sticks over Mangum. Also, by age, a little bit more upside. So I could see it. Like when you think everybody's healthy, when Josh Lowe is back, who sticks? Because you got Josh Lowe in right, Christopher Morel in left, Johnny DeLuca in center. You get one more outfielder. You probably want him to be able to play center. So it might be Meisner that sticks.
But yeah, you could send Mangum down. Still has 3 options left, even though he's old. You could send DeLuca down. He's still got options left. So,
but he's playing well and was your opening day center fielder. So, and DH seems to be increasingly taken up by Jonathan Aranda, at least against righties. So there's not a lot of room for all these guys that are up for now. So I'd call them short-term ads, but Meisner might be the guy who sticks, albeit as a 4th outfielder once everybody is healthy.
I'm happy for Jonathan Aranda. I'm sad for me because I wanted to believe the last 3 years, and I just wasn't sure the playing time was there. I was among the people that got deked by Eloy Jimenez landing there. I thought Eloy was going to win this job and have the kind of start that Jonathan Aranda has had. 16.4% K rate, still making a ton of hard contact. It's an 18.2% barrel rate with a 59.1% hard hit rate underneath it. No, Jonathan Aranda is not going to carry a 415 BABIP all year, but knock 100 points off that, and he still could be a 277, 343 plus power guy. Like that's good. Like Jonathan Aranda looks like maybe he's planting the seeds for an actual big league sort of breakout this year.
Yeah. Yeah. The only caveat I have is that he doesn't seem to play much against lefties. So you in weekly leagues, you're going to have to deal with that. Yeah. It may be good enough to still roster in weekly leagues, but he's the kind of guy where, he's got 2 lefties this weekend. I can't start him this weekend.
So there you go. Hopefully a little bit of help for you with lots of names to consider on the waiver wire this weekend. A quick heads up on our way out the door. The NFL draft is almost here, and the Athletic Podcasting Network has you covered. On Wednesday, April 23rd, Diana Rossini will share all the info she's hearing the day before the draft live on Scoop City's YouTube channel at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then on Thursday, the Athletic Football Show kicks off a 2-night live event. On night 1, Robert Mays, Derek Clausen, Dane Brugler, and Bruce Feldman break down all 32 first-round picks in real time. On night 2, Robert, Derek, and Dane return to cover all the picks from rounds 2 and 3. You can watch the Athletic Football Show's 2025 live NFL Draft special on their YouTube page beginning at 7:30 Eastern on Thursday, April 24th, and 6:30 Eastern on Friday, April 25th. I've watched that stream the last couple of years. They crush it on that stream. And it's such a calming, compared to watching the ABC ESPN coverage, and I'm not just crapping on them because they're a competitor, it's so much more chill with good analysis as opposed to just loud highlights. Here's some terrible things that happened to this player. And they're always like
an overall, like, crazy comps are like, he could be a Tom Brady. I see Tom Brady in him.
Like, highly recommended. If you have an interest in the NFL draft, check out those live shows that those guys are doing next week.
Rugler also puts together the Beast, which is amazing. Like he knows so much about each of these guys. The Beast is, if you want like to read something comprehensive about the NFL draft, like, it is an amazing document that he puts together every year. It's just so the depth of knowledge going into that is primo. So well done to them, and that sounds exciting.
Yeah, definitely check that out next week. We are going to go on our way out the door. Just a reminder too, you can join our Discord with the link in the show description. You can find us on Bluesky. Eno's enosarris.bsky.social. I am dvr.bsky.social. I think Niv's on there as Ottoneu.bsky.social if you want to give the Ottoneu account a follow, interact with Niv that way. That's going to do it for this episode of Rates and Barrels. We're back with you on Monday.
Thanks for listening.